Yeah. So, okay, we're 5 minutes in. How are we doing this? What's the plan?
I think we should go. It sounds like there's like over 1,000 people here. So let's
Wait,
get started.
let's do it.
Cool. Well, we wanted to welcome everyone to this first ever live chat with me and Paul. And we're going to do about 25 minutes of us just telling you a little bit about our story, what's next, and then we're going to open it up to questions. So put your questions in the chat, and then our team members will go and prioritize, and then pop those questions to me and Paul, and we'll be able to answer them after we kind of talk for the first 20 minutes. Cool.
Sounds good to me.
Paul, do you want to do any norm setting?
Norm setting. I don't know. We'll keep the chat going as long as it doesn't get overwhelmed with anything that gets too rough. If it kind of overflows, we might take it down for a quick second, but that won't happen. We'll be chill. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, I think, right?
Cool. Yeah. If there's, we hope that everyone can stay polite, fun in the chats. But if it does get toxic, then we will just shut that down and maybe move the conversation or questions to maybe Bluesky, and then you guys can post in there. But hopefully that won't happen. Everything will be in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, so far, so chill. No problem
Cool.
at all.
Cool. Okay, well, I'm gonna before we get started, introduce Paul a little bit, and then we
Yeah,
can.
we're gonna do each other's intros. Is that the plan?
Yeah, I thought
Make it a little more fun.
I know we're actually friends, so I always think that I should take actually out of my vocabulary. Cool. So Paul's our CTO. I think most of you guys know Paul as the guy who puts the bugs in the app.
Mhm.
He also does a lot of other things, like built the app. And fun fact is that he single-handedly built the Bluesky app last year when we were a team of 4 or 5. And it was just Paul, and we got to about like 50,000 users with just this guy's work. But clearly too many bugs. So we're like, why don't you just be the dev wrangler? I'm just kidding. No, he's done such a good job. And now Paul manages all the different engineers, and he also maybe is in some ways the mayor of the app. He's always responding to folks. So
Joshua
really,
Friedman's the mayor now, I think, actually.
okay.
Yeah.
Governor.
I don't know. Mascot, maybe.
Mascot. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm the repair guy. I'm the handy repair guy that shows up, because I'm usually, hey, it's broken. Okay, let's see what I can do about that.
So that's when I tag you.
Also, thank God I'm not the only one building the app anymore. We got a really great team that took over that, and that's why there are way less bugs now. So things got a whole lot better once that stopped just being me. If anything, that's a shout out to React Native and Expo. They made that like actually doable. So shout out to those folks. All right, you ready for your intro? Here we go. So this is Rose Wang. She's the COO at Bluesky. She says actually a lot. Prior to Bluesky, Rose worked at a startup she started called Chirps, which was about eating bugs. And she actually, it was like cookies and like chips and stuff like that. Yeah. And like, did you go
Sure.
nutrition bars? Did you do
Uh,
nutrition bars too?
we didn't do protein bars, but we had
Yeah.
protein mixes.
Yeah. And that's still going, right? Chirps is still out there.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep. I mean, Chirps is rocking. It's crushing it. It's totally out there. Y'all were on Shark Tank once, which actually blew my mind when I first heard about that. Yeah, so yeah, that's what Rose did before, and then of course the joke that I like to make is that she came over here where we continue to put bugs in our products, uh, and yeah, the setup is just right there. Yeah, and then. Yeah, and so Rose started off. Honestly, originally you were just sort of advising us, and then eventually it was like, "Oh, we need you to come in here and really help us handle basically everything that's not writing code." And that's what Rose does at the company.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, I'm definitely event planner. love all the things that we get to do with the community. Well, really awesome to be here with you guys today. And we've both been at Bluesky for now about 2.5 years, but we only launched the Bluesky app to the public February of this year, which is wild because now I think we're over 16 million users. So yeah, thank you all so much for joining the party. So yeah, what we're going to talk about today is we're going to start off just like for a lot of people, what is Bluesky? I think that's still a big question. And we're going to kind of go into some of the features and then talk a little bit about how the project even came to be, how Bluesky came to be. So, but I'll get started first in terms of like, what is Bluesky? Well, Bluesky is focused on the social part of social media. And that's quite rare. We've seen that a lot of other social platforms are more focused on the media part of social media. And so we've kind of turned it around. We just want everyone to have fun again, make internet friends again. And to do that, we wanted to give you more choice, more customization, which we're learning is translating into basically more chattiness, more connection, more engagement. And yeah, Paul, do you want to talk about like what these choices are?
Yeah. So like this shows up in a lot of different ways. Like we have the entire approach to feeds where this is obviously a key thing about it. It's like what the algorithm is doing. One of the first things we did was set up a whole thing where other people can make algorithms. So there's a whole bunch of feeds. A lot of these feeds, sometimes they're just like communities, like there's like the science feed, Black Sky, oh gosh, what else am I not thinking of? There's the Kidlit one. Like you'll get like topical stuff, which is great. There was an election one that we actually a couple of election ones that got put together. So it's almost like a smarter hashtag whenever it's in that vibe, because they can do things like choosing who shows up in there. They can moderate what shows up in the feed. They can choose the like multiple different keywords to get put in. So the feeds are like really cool for that. But then also they can actually be algorithmic. So the same kind of thing that powers the Discover feed, which is the default one that we run. Basically anybody can do that. And so you see some pretty fun stuff like Quiet Posters is a favorite of mine. Quiet Posters is a feed where it's just people that you follow that haven't posted in a while or that don't post that much, making sure that they show up in there, which you know how it is, like you lose folks in the noise. So that's like really great for like keeping up with folks. Oh, what else is there that's good? Popular with Friends is also a really good one. That one just goes entirely by likes from people you follow.
Yeah.
And then there's also, I think it's Popular with Followers is a really interesting one, which is like, it's looking at people that follow you and then what are they liking? That's super interesting and weirdly maps well to your interest as well for, I guess, kind of obvious reasons, but it's actually kind of fun to see that too.
There's also the catch-up feed.
The catch-up feed, that's a good one. Yeah, this like, I guess, bangers over like the past week, I think. Yeah. And I saw somebody shout out Red Solver earlier. Red Solver is somebody in the community that made Sky Feeds. And that's like a totally separate website that allows you to build these feeds because we actually haven't made it possible yet to build a feed inside the app. We've been actually trying for forever, just not able to get it done. So you can actually use Sky Feeds, and it has like this cool kind of like logic combination system where you can like define how the feed works. And that's how a lot of people make feeds right now. So like that runs entirely on Red Solver's servers. So like our app talks to his thing and then shows up with there. So we don't, run everything, which is the theme you're going to hear a lot about actually as we talk about all this.
Yeah. That's actually I was going to do a quick note.
Go for it. Yeah.
The beauty of Bluesky is I'm seeing in the chat like trending topics or, like I really want to search for starter packs. And I think in some ways we want all of those things too, but we're just trying to keep the website online. And the beauty of Bluesky is that it's open so that any developer can go build and you don't have to wait for us and you can use their experiences. That's actually how social used to work. If you guys remember Zynga or TweetDeck and all these other tools that were built for social media back then. And then it was an ecosystem that was built by both the company and other developers. That's what made it so vibrant and exciting. And then basically what happened is these companies shut down their APIs or made it really prohibitively expensive for devs to build. And so part of why Bluesky exists is that we're like, that shouldn't be right in a world where devs are closed off or users are closed off from experimenting and innovating on the social world they live in. And so Bluesky is what we call locked open. And so it means that we could never shut you guys out because our protocol is open like the web. And that was a decision that we had made.
Yeah, that was right from the get-go. That was kind of like the original mission of the whole thing. And we'll talk more about that later. Let's stay in on like the kind of how it comes out to y'all. So like that's the feeds thing. Then like anti-toxicity is a really big part of this too, because like again, it's trying to be social. We're trying to make this actually a fun thing, make social media just like not such a chore for everybody, but actually like something to have fun with, which we all remember that.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot of stuff on that I definitely want to call out. We might demo some of this later, I think, but like you can control who can reply to you even after you make a post, so you can lock a thread. That's a really good one to know about. You can remove quote posts. So if somebody quote dunks on you, you can actually just detach it and be done with it. You obviously got muting folks, blocking folks. Our blocks are very powerful. They pretty much just like zonk them out of the website as far as you're concerned. Mm-hmm. We also have like some community-oriented kind of tools for this too. So there's what we call moderation lists, and they're lists that you can either that you subscribe to and either mute everybody that's on the list or block everybody that's on the list. Mm-hmm. So that's actually really helpful for just like keeping your whole thing a little bit more in your vibe. Then we went kind of really crazy with it. And again, because we're with this open protocol sort of thing, we set up the way that moderation works in our whole system. We do moderation as you normally do, but then other people can spin up their own moderation service. And it's an open source piece of software that other people can set up, kind of like the feeds like we were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. And then users can subscribe to it, and it just stacks on top of the moderation that we're doing.
Yeah.
And so people use that for a lot of different stuff. It's in that zone where you have to kind of by word of mouth find these things, because again, we don't have the search for it yet. But like you can actually, one that I just recently decided to try out is a like politics reducer, which this one, like I'm actually pretty fine with it. I don't mind it that much, but I was curious to see what it was like. So I set it up, I've subscribed to it and set it all on warn so that I just get like a little cover on the posts before I see it. And yeah, it actually, honestly, has been a little bit like, yeah, you know what? I don't really want to read about that particular stress inducing thing at the moment. So I'm just going to scroll on by. So you could do things like that, or it could be like, hey, maybe like arachnophobia, you can like have things automatically doing like image detection, be like, that's a spider. Maybe you don't want to see that. So that's pretty handy. But then also people have used it to just have some fun, because the way that it works is actually, they're called labels. It's just like metadata. It's just saying like, hey, this is blank. So one of the things we see a lot of people doing is actually just making these labelers not to like hide things, but actually to put positive or neutral or funny like badges on people.
Yeah.
So like the Kiki Booba was a funny one where everybody got a label, which was either Kiki or Booba. We had one and they would just like show up on your profile, show up on your posts.
Yeah.
I know there's a pronouns one, which is pretty handy, where like the idea there is that you just like a post that sets your chosen pronoun, and then that ends up getting attached to you. And then anybody that subscribes to it just shows up on your posts. Oh, nice. Yeah, and then, gosh, what else is there? Oh yeah, Yard Crow is a pretty interesting one. Yard Crow is, that was kind of early on, like prior to things blowing up. So like, I don't know how that's going to scale, but they were putting kind of like, this person's a journalist, this person's a social butterfly, this person's fun, that kind of like community kind of flaring sort of thing, which was a really cool way to like, oh yeah, okay, that's a person that folks know, I guess, So yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool. You can do a lot of different things with it. It probably needs a little more polish still, but it's people are finding cool things to do with it.
Yeah. I think sometimes it can be so like super overwhelming to have so much choice. And that's something that we're very aware of, okay, well, can we bundle experiences for folks so that it's a lot more convenient? I think the wonderful thing is there's so many awesome people in the community who've been here for a while. And I think you mentioned Josh Friedman, who is basically like mayor of Bluesky, according to the users. And that we've just seen a lot of users helping each other out, figure out, how do I make a feed? How do I use these feeds? How do I change my domain handle? So huge thank you to the community for making that happen.
Totally.
Yeah. I was gonna
Yeah.
say,
So go for it.
yeah. I wanted to touch a little bit on our protocol. I think we
Yep.
often talk about the app, but it's like, well, why is Blue Sky allowing so much choice? Or like, is there an infrastructure difference here compared to other platforms? And so it's actually quite important for us to talk about our protocol, the app protocol that we built. And Blue Sky is actually an app that's built on top of the app protocol. And for non-technical folks, what this enables is that anything we build, anyone else can build. That's basically what it does. And so this is what enables you to have choice. Like if you don't like that feed, the Discover feed, Paul just named, 10 others that you can go follow. And then if you don't want to see movie spoilers on the network, someone can go make a movie spoiler labeler that can hide all the movie spoilers for you. And so it's things like that where, maybe our terms of service or our community guidelines don't catch every edge case that your community needs, but we're giving you the tools to go and figure out how to go build what your community either wants to see or not want to see. So that's really what it is our promise is that we want to ensure that users are put first, developers always have the freedom to build, and that creators have independence from platforms. And so the social network should be much bigger than one company. And for us, we always say that social media should be built for the people, by the people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like it really is about like making sure that there's a network that lasts longer than Blue Sky does. Right. And so like even as and in fact, actually, even when we're running, that there are other people that are able to make their own versions of the thing and like run it alongside of ours and have it basically be all the same users. It's just kind of like the internet's just the internet, it's not like I don't know who I'm using, but Verizon or whatever, right? Like you're using AT&T, it's the same network. You shouldn't have to think about that. It should just be, okay, you have choices. So like all of it's open source, or pretty much all of it is open source. And the specs are all open, the protocol is open. So like, it's pretty straightforward to be able to run this stuff. Yeah.
Cool. I agree. I like it clearly. Cool. Well, we're going to tell you a little bit about how the story or how Blue Sky came about, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions. I can't tell you how many times I hear when I tell people about Blue Sky, they're like, oh, you mean the app that had that invite code system and like you guys didn't let people in, you screwed up. I mean, yes, we had
they say it like that. They say it just like that too.
But,
that one.
Yeah, that one. Thank you. Yes, we hear that like at least once a day. And so, yeah, story time. We're going to tell our story, and then maybe start setting the record straight. So in 2019, Jack Dorsey kicked off a tweet to launch Blue Sky as a concept here. Let's build an open protocol that Twitter can run on. And right at that time, Jay, who couldn't be here with us today, but Jay is our founder and CEO. Her history is that she was actually a digital rights activist, and she used to use platforms like Facebook to educate people about the rights that we have as users online. But it's kind of ironic to do that on a platform that is closed. And so her vision and her mission was always, can I go build a decentralized social network that is open for the people to iterate, experiment off of? And so when she saw this tweet, she was like, oh my gosh, I want to be a part of Blue Sky. And so there was a group chat, I believe, that was pulled together.
Matrix. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. And for 2 years, it was just basically people chatting in that group chat to figure out what this concept of an open protocol could look like. And that's when Jay pulled together an ecosystem report. And then Jack and Parag interviewed a bunch of folks and then chose Jay as the project lead. And Jay has never worked at Twitter. She was consulting as an outside consultant because she was one of the few experts on decentralized social networks. I would say she's way ahead of her time, has a lot of foresight. And so when Jay decided to not only take the job and lead project Bluesky, she also saw that essentially the incentives of a centralized platform like Twitter are going to be completely at odds in the future with a decentralized protocol. And so she had the foresight to say, maybe we should separate as an independent company, and then Twitter can be a customer of ours, and we'll build the protocol for Twitter as a customer. And Jack agreed, and so we split off Bluesky, and the timing is pretty wild because basically immediately after is when Elon announced that he was interested in buying Twitter. And so there's something pretty divine about the timing. And we knew that Elon was most likely uninterested in opening up Twitter. I think his focus was pretty clear on like profitability. And so that's when we decided to build our own app. And Paul, since you built the app, you should take the rest of the story.
Yeah. So, we threw up a wait list right around the time that Elon ended up taking actual control, because there was this whole summer where, like, it was locked up in court, and we weren't really sure what was going to happen. So we just kind of kept working on the protocol. Then in the fall of 2022, we threw up a wait list, and that pretty quickly knocked over the waitlist server. Like, we had to, we got a lot of people signing up.
I think
so that
it
was
a
pretty.
million in like 3 days or something.
It was crazy. Yeah. At that point, we kind of didn't expect that level of interest, so that was pretty exciting, to say the least. But we have been working just on the technology really broadly up until this point. So I'm kind of like just throwing together the app. I think at that point there was nothing really.
Yeah.
And then like somewhere around like December, we actually like added the ability to put images in it, like that's how like where we were with the thing.
Yeah.
And so then we decided, okay, well, look, people are just like really interested to try this thing. Let's get it to the point where it's like half functional and start letting people in. And so we decided to start the private beta to actually start to have users. And I mean, to be honest, I think pretty early on, we had expected to at least be building a reference implementation, some kind of an application, so that because it's important to not build technology in isolation.
Yeah.
You actually need to hear from people. You actually need to have something that's testing it out. So getting people in quickly was like really important to us to make sure that we were getting things right. And was great because we did start to get feedback like straight away, and that started to guide development really fast. And it kept us really honest about like remembering this is always about the people that are trying to use this thing.
Yeah.
And but it was like a new technology. And actually, as it turns out, creating a backend and a TNS department that can handle lots of people coming on is really hard. It takes a lot of work. And so even with the invites that we were doing, at first we were just sending invites to people that had signed up on the wait list. But then we decided, all right, well, why don't we give some of the invite codes to the users so that they could come on? And so they started to do that. And that's how we had that year-long private beta, all through which we were going, can we open up yet? Is it possible for us to do it? And it was mainly, I mean, both, again, TNS and the servers, but definitely the infra team, the server team was going, I don't think so. No, we really need to re-architect it to handle the scale. And so, so that's why we had that year. It was really just us trying to manage the amount of people coming in so that our servers don't fall over.
Yeah.
On a day like today.
Which again, for new people, was not us. It was a network.
People doing on the cables. Yeah. So that's how that went. And actually, what's interesting is that we ended up rewriting a lot of the system to handle scale, and that's the exact system that we're still using. So like once we re-architected everything, it's continued to be able to handle the load. So they did a good job rewriting it, but it just it took us about a year to get it done.
Yeah. So that basically then I think going to I think I want to talk a little bit about this invite code moment where it was right before it was right when Elon had bought Twitter, right before Threads had come out, and we called it like a lightning in a bottle moment where the whole world's attention was on Bluesky. And I remember at the time, everyone was like, open up, open up. And that was a big discussion within the tiny team that we had then. It was like 7 or 10 of us. And and the discussion was, if we do open up, that means that we would be spending all of our resources, that means money, all of the eng time on building the app. And what that means is that then we're not building anything on the protocol side. And so when we were making that decision, it was, are we going to basically rebuild Twitter and remake all the same mistakes that we wanted to fix in Web 2 social, where you don't have choice, you're stuck to the algorithm that we give you, you have to use the moderation service we give you. And instead we decided, you know what, we're going to do this differently and stick to our principles and build the protocol and built the plumbing, which is why we kept with the invite codes. And I think it was like people didn't understand why we did that. And so we stuck to our principles. We weren't actually sure that was the right decision because growth is really hard to come by. And I think this is a moment where we are celebratory as a team of like, yay, we were given a second chance. We were so excited to have everyone on Bluesky with choice now that we built the protocol so that you can have different feeds and different moderation services. And so the timing truly, we feel like there's some divine like order or just like how many companies get a second chance at this. And so we're really, really grateful to everyone for being here.
Definitely. Yeah. By the way, I'm hearing that the stream went out briefly, so I'm glad that we're not the only ones, I guess, in the world with this stuff. In this case, I can proudly say none of this is hosted on our servers, so it definitely isn't us. That's Twitch.
Okay, we got a tip that you should refresh.
Yeah. Well, if you're saying this, then I don't think anybody that can't hear you right now. So maybe if we say it really loud, they'll hear it.
Yeah. You just have to scream louder for people to hear you online. Isn't that what we learned?
Yeah, right.
Cool.
But yeah. No, I'm really glad that we did stick with like it's always like bouncing between protocol, application, making sure that we're keeping both going. And it's tough sometimes for sure, but I'm always glad, I'll take the risk on that because that's what we're here for, right? So
totally. Paul, I see that we're about 30 minutes in, so I think we should probably start going to the questions that have been pulled. I would love to talk more about moderation. I think this comes up a lot. It seems like a lot of people in the chat have been asking about our moderation. So I think maybe we should start with, you kind of gave a little bit of like how we're different in moderation, but let's just go a little bit deeper and just talk about how our moderation is different from X or some other more centralized platforms. So feel free to start and then I'll jump in.
Yeah. Okay. So you want me to go back over some of the label stuff, or do you want me to demo some of the stuff? What are you thinking?
Yeah, let's talk. I would love to start with, I'll talk about the composable moderation, the stackable moderation, kind of just like laying it out. And maybe you can pull up, I would love for you to do a screen share and we can show.
You want to do that? I can do that right now. Yeah, I got it right now. So we can totally do that. Let's see. Let me make sure that my screen.
Okay, as you pull that up, I'll just talk quickly about moderation. So
all right, here we are.
The quick like TLDR is that the way that moderation works on most other platforms is that there's, a moderator team.
Go ahead. I'm just going to check what I'm about to show before I show it.
Sounds good.
I'm going to distract everyone. Yeah. Wave your hands.
Yeah, hello.
Could the stream go out again really quick? That'd be great. All right, here we go.
Okay, cool. So in terms of the way that we thought about moderation is, in this centralized social world, you have a small group of people or a moderator team that you would have to petition to get things changed on moderation decisions. And we felt like, this is it's slow. If there are hundreds of millions of people trying to petition, hundreds or thousands of people, your decision's just not going to get made very quickly. And many diverse communities probably won't have the protections or the specific moderation needs that they're looking for. And so we actually turned it around where all the tools that moderator teams tend to have in these other centralized platforms, we've actually given those tools to you guys. The customization, the ability to label posts and accounts. And so the way that we think about it is, okay, well, we provide a base layer of moderation in our terms of service and community guidelines that our head of trust and safety, Aaron Rodericks, governs. And Aaron used to be the head of election integrity at Twitter and then was co-lead of trust and safety at X. And he's come over to Bluesky and has helped us through this election cycle. But in our terms of service and community guidelines, we don't tolerate hate speech, we don't tolerate misinformation, but there are other things that people care about that we might not be able to get to. And so this is where then we have given the tools on top of our own moderation service that you can then add. And there you go.
And that's what we're looking at here. Yeah. So like these services, they're basically just accounts that then like flip on some things behind the scenes saying, hey, you know what? We're going to act as a labeler. Our UI has been a little bit wonky. I think they fixed this in the upcoming release. But so like you subscribe to them, which is different than following. I think you can actually follow them. Did we end up getting that? Oh yeah, it's in this drop now. So you can actually follow them to see their posts. But yeah, you kind of puts the labels up front, and you can kind of control what each of them does. So if there's something that you're really just like, you know what, I'm good. Like for instance, we're just looking at this one, and maybe just heard enough about the election for today. Need a little bit of breather, so I'm just going to set that to hide, and now I don't see it at all. And it's one of those things where you're gonna have to kind of choose these folks, kind of like with an ad blocker. Actually, it's really similar to that, where like, do I trust this ad blocker to do a good job of this? Yes, then okay, I'm gonna trust them to and use them. And if not, then you gotta make that choice for yourself. But that's what the tool's there for.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Yeah.
Another question is, will Bluesky implement community notes? That keeps coming up in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, like we're into that idea. I don't know what the timeline would be for it, but I think that's been pretty successful, honestly. And so I would say we should have it on the list.
Yeah, we've definitely talked a lot about it internally. And one of the things we know that worked really well for community notes for Twitter in the beginning was that they also had a program for like folks who were selected to be I don't know, like specific community notes experts or moderators who would go and be able to contribute. And so, yeah, I think for us, we want to do, if we implement community notes, we want to implement it in a way that's really thoughtful. And so, yes, it's coming, and we don't know when because we're just trying to keep the website online.
Yeah. By the way, I've been judged, and I am apparently Kiki. So yeah, that's I turned on the Kiki Booba labeler, and so you can see that one puts badges on people's accounts. So here I am. I'm apparently Kiki. I remember that now. I was Team Kiki in the Great War.
That's what I think of, Kiki.
Yeah, feels right. What did you end up getting here? Did you not get one?
I don't think I got one.
No, you didn't get one. All right, you're safe.
I'm undefined.
You can't put it in that box. Yeah, so true.
Awesome. And then okay, so I guess I'm gonna be the question asker since.
Oh yeah, cool.
Okay. What features can we expect to see soonest in the pipeline?
Oh, brother.
I would also like to know. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Somebody asked earlier, and I was saying every week we start out talking about what features we're going to work on, and then immediately go into keeping the servers up. So I can say for sure that we're working pretty hard actually on subscriptions. That's a major thing that's happening right now. And so doing a lot of calls on that, getting all that planned out. Hopefully that'll be fun. And then there's a lot of quality of life stuff happening. That's kind of continuous. Let me think, what did they do recently? Okay, I don't normally, you know what? How much can we? I don't normally try. I try not to talk about stuff that's in the pipeline because it's really hard to give firm promises, right? Like
Yeah.
unless we're like really locked in.
No firm
Um,
promises
so
because
no firm promises. At best, what I could say when I say these things is that this is stuff that we're looking at, we're talking about. Who knows when it's going to land? Notifications tab, giving better controls over that. That's definitely high up on the list.
Mhm.
Um, things like being able to control if you're getting push notifications for likes or like replies individually instead of like turning all the push notifications on or off because you can get quite a bit. We also really want to clean up the notifications screen and like have an ability to just go to conversations instead of like all your stuff because if you do have a lot going on, you can get pretty overwhelmed with like all the different things showing up in there and folks lose conversation. So that one's pretty high up on the list. Um, gosh, uh, let me poke around in the chat. Come back to me with this question. Let me poke around and see what else is actually on the list
Awesome.
here.
Okay. Um, we'll come back to that. I also wanted to ask, so this is one that, we get a lot from our users, and I think it's just important for us to talk about, why we don't have private accounts right now, or
Oh
why,
yeah,
yeah. So you want to give it a shot?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, private accounts and basically everything that has to do with like semi-private or totally private conversations. It's pretty straightforward. It's that the protocol that we built was designed in the first push to handle public content. There was a lot of work that required to get even to that point. And private or semi-private stuff has to go through a kind of a totally different mechanism than the public stuff. And we have to design that. That's really all there is to it. So it's actually an unusually large kind of technical lift compared to if you're just making an app without a protocol. Like the idea that a private account would be hard, doesn't really. I can understand why people would be like, why, right? Like just make it,
Yeah.
right? How is it different than anything else? But because we're doing this whole protocol thing, we actually have to design the whole protocol for private information to flow around. We have some ideas about how that's going to happen. So I'm not like super concerned about getting there. I don't know if
Mhm.
it's actually going to look like a locked account or if it's going to be something more like ways to share privately because it's really a kind of a different mechanism. So it may be more like you create an account and if you want it to be private, you just like don't post publicly and instead have use the more private ways of sharing. I just don't know yet. It's not impossible. We could maybe find a way, but like generally speaking, I think it's more likely it'll be like just different channels to use within the app.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions about verification,
Oh
and
yeah, sure.
yeah, let's talk about custom domains first.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, we didn't even mention that. Custom domains. This one's pretty wild to me because and I'm gonna actually go back to screen sharing just to clarify exactly what this is. When we did this, we kind of didn't know if people were going to go for it, and people really went for it. It was really surprising. But okay, so check it out here. This is one of our teammates, and Divey uses divey.zone, which is actually a website. Has its own domain. I'm pfrazee.com. If you go in your browser to pfrazee.com, you get my website. We decided to make domain names usernames. And the reason that we did that is because it's a protocol thing, right? It's bigger than just our app. So like, we don't want to be the only people setting names. It kind of needs to be bigger than our company.
Mhm.
And that's what DNS is. DNS is for the whole world. Excuse me, domain names is for the whole world. So that's how that works. So then what's sort of interesting is that does help you in some pretty good cases actually figure out who folks are, because domain names, if you see bsky.app on the app or you see nypost.com or nytimes or washingtonpost.com, you actually know that that's legitimately them because you know that domain name and nobody else can have it. So it kind of gives some amount of verification to it. And then there's some that like are coming in kind of gradually, like subdomains like bsky.team, like you have your rose.bsky.team.
Yep.
Only Bluesky folks actually on the team would be able to have that. So you know from that you're on the Bluesky team, and that actually works even better for like we've had some senators using .gov, like I think it's
Yeah.
Widen.senate.gov. Only people that you have to assume, pretty sure you're going to be a senator if you got the Senate.gov thing. So like it really, there's some good actual kind of, it's giving that verification, but it's doing it in a way that it's not just us running it. It's actually kind of the kind of collective institutional infrastructure of the internet, which is great. Again, you don't want single companies running everything in the world. You want this stuff to be collectively run. So having these domain names is a good starting point.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, right, let's talk about actually doing verification badges. I mean, like, maybe, right? Like, we would want to keep the exact same principles in play, however we do it. And I think there is a trick to making that work well for folks, and again, stay away from it being locked into us. So adding a layer on top of it, I do think there's some sense to that because domain names can only go so far. I think if people don't know the domain name ahead of time, that's not necessarily going to be any more accurate than anything else. It might be the sort of thing where we're able to anchor it off of the well-known domain names. So if it was something like bsky.team was able to give out a verification badge to the employees, then you can kind of continue to use this open approach to doing verification while still making it kind of go further than what domain names are able to do. So yeah, I'm really happy with it as a starting point, that's for sure. And we'll just see where it goes from there.
Yeah, awesome. I also know that there's a lot of questions about how do we make money. So I'm gonna take a crack at this one.
Do it.
Yeah. Because that's on everyone's mind. It's like, can you please survive? How do you make money? Because nobody's paying anyone right now except for custom domains. So for us, it's really important that we're thinking about monetization in a way that's very thoughtful. Like we would never want to put core features behind a paywall. We want Bluesky to be free to use for anyone. That said, I think there's just a lot of ways that people are finding value in Bluesky, and we obviously also need to survive over time. For now, we are funded by different investors, and so the goal is, hey, let's not put too much weight on financialization right now. We just want everyone to come and enjoy making friends, having fun. But we do want to start thinking about, well, how can we ensure our own self-sustainability? So the first thing that we're going to do in the short term is launch subscriptions. And we've talked about this in our blog post, and there's a thread on my account. But essentially, the way that we're thinking about subscriptions is we want to give you guys more tools to express yourselves. And so it'll be, the details will come soon. The goal is it'll launch before the end of this year, and there'll be things that we've talked about, like more video uploads, maybe higher resolution images, and then the customization aesthetics, like maybe putting things on the avatar frame, changing some of the colors of your page. And so those are some of the features that we've been playing around with for subscriptions. That's going to come in the short term. In the mid to long term, I think the big question is, well, there's so many people who are helping us build this ecosystem, including creators, developers, and a new role on Bluesky that wasn't necessarily on other microblogging sites, which is what we call the community builders. You don't have to be a big poster on Bluesky to do well. There's so many people who are great at curating starter packs, curating lists, curating feeds, or making the feeds. And you absolutely have a role here at Bluesky. I think lots of us are very grateful for all the community builders out there in each different community. And so you guys are doing most of the work. So our goal long-term is that value gets passed back to you guys. And so we might start sometime, we don't know timelines, but initially the goal is like from some of the subscriptions, maybe we'll be able to pass back some of that revenue to creators and developers and community builders. In the like mid to long term, the vision is that we would build our own payment system on Bluesky and within the atmosphere. So as you either support somebody for creating a feed, or you want to support somebody's their art, that most of that money goes to them. And then because you're using our payment system, we're just taking a percentage of that. And so those are some of our longer term plans to make money. But this is an experiment that we're going to learn with you guys. I mean, if you guys are buying a ton of stuff from each other on the website, then maybe we'll start shops, so there's just like potentially lots of different ways we can go. And we really want to follow where you're finding value in the network.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple of other things to add to the subscriptions thing is that the number one thing that we got to make sure that we do when we do this is making sure that it doesn't have a like pay to win kind of dynamic to it. So if you are, we don't want it to look like you're getting, you're not going to get elevated replies or elevated in the algorithms. We're not doing anything like that. That's terrible. We're going to be really careful about also with the customizations you can have. It'll probably be kind of more tightened around if it's like an aesthetic customization about your profile page, or things like inside of chats with you, or perhaps inside of like threads that you create. I think is an interesting area to do it too, but not in the feeds for sure, and not within somebody else's feed, because you gotta be really careful about attention grabbing sort of customizations that people can do, which like again has this kind of effect of skewing what this is really about, which is socializing with folks and everybody being there, together on a kind of an equal playing field. So however everything that we're going to be doing with subscriptions, we're taking a really careful look with each of those things to make sure that it's not messing with what's at the heart of it for everybody. So yeah, that's a big part of that. And then I'm also pretty excited to gradually get into ways for folks to be able to like support each other over time and make the whole thing sustain. It's we need to sustain ourselves and make this a company that can thrive, and then we want the same for the community and for the entire ecosystem well beyond us. So
agreed. I'm going to ask one last serious question, and then we have some fun questions from the audience, and then we'll end it at the hour. Cool. But a big question that we keep getting asked is, what if someone tries to shut us down?
Oh yeah. You want to take this or should I?
I'll start.
Go for it.
In our intro, we talked about how we built our own open protocol called the app protocol that Bluesky is built on. And so that protocol is similar to what the internet is built on. So shutting us down would be like shutting down the internet. It's actually kind of hard because you can choose to close the Bluesky app or make us do that. But we've open sourced our code so that basically you can just copy and paste it and we can restart it again. So we basically built Bluesky so that you can easily, what we call freedom of exit, you can leave and you can bring your followers, your posts, your data to another app very easily, as long as it's on the app protocol. And so in some ways, we'd be really annoying to shut down because it's kind of a cat and mouse game.
Yeah, the network should live longer than us. Mm-hmm. That's always the goal, no matter how that happens. So yeah, that's why we do all that open source and all the protocol stuff.
Yeah, the timing of it all is just truly amazing. And I think even just educating folks about social built in an open way is completely new. And so thank you for being here, because you're learning, and then we hope that you can keep helping us tell the story. The 16 million people who are now a part of this party.
It's actually been crazy watching how much folks are picking up on it lately, because it's for a while it's felt like you talk about it and feel like, oh, that's cool, like they're not totally fine with it. But lately people are like, oh no, I get it. Like, oh, cool. That's great. Totally. Love to hear that.
Totally. Yeah. Well, awesome. I mean, that's about it in terms of, there's a lot more questions. I think there were over like 1,800 people in this conversation today. So thank you all for being here. And sorry we couldn't answer everything, but we do have some funny questions. You
Sure.
have something close by that.
Oh, well, this could be about two things. This could also be about Kit, but I'm guessing
It's
it's
actually
about
both.
the. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
actually
yeah.
both.
Right.
Proof that
This is.
he's real. I love it.
Yeah, they make me do this. It's that
It
meme,
actually does look
that
like I made
Simpsons
you do
meme.
this.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's like that Simpsons meme. Hey, say it. You know, say the thing. Okay, wait a minute. It's I gotta get it right. I think this is meant for a child. If I'm being honest, it doesn't really fit. Okay, here we go. Good
He's also
enough.
been going to the gym a lot more.
Oh, thanks.
Who
Hey,
knows?
nice, thanks.
I told you guys were friends.
Okay, hang on. And then if we don't get
Oh,
Kit.
yeah, the main character. Let's see the main character.
Oh, kitty Kit. Here she is. Hey, say hi.
Aw, hi Kit. She's super adorable.
Yeah, and she's getting
That's
fat.
Ooh. Okay, cool. That's in
Blew
your
her up pretty bad there. Yeah, sorry, Kit. Oh, that wasn't nice.
Awesome. And then
Yeah, I'm keeping them on. The wings stay on.
they'll stay on for the next 5 minutes. Paul, what are you drinking? What's your beverage of choice?
Oh, like right now?
That's one of the questions.
Oh yeah, I'm drinking coffee. I'm having a 5 to 6 p.m. coffee because we're live streaming, so I'm staying juiced.
I get it.
Yeah,
You're staying self-taught, yeah. Cool. And then the other question is, does anyone in the office use the term skeet?
Couldn't have skipped that question. Couldn't have let that one fly by.
I only want to talk about my favorite moment of last year, which is why
Yeah, Jake Tapper.
I brought this up.
That felt like stepping into like a dream or something. I could not believe that happened.
It was wide.
Yeah, so what we're talking about is
the
Jake Tapper. Go for it. Tell the story.
I just want to say that, first of all, this was a term that users came up with.
Yeah, this is not on us. You cannot blame us for this.
But one of our favorite moments, I think I was with Jay in person last year when this happened. That Jake Tapper on CNN had said the word skeet several times in several different interviews. But I remember we watched this and he, with a straight face, asked like staffers, well, on Bluesky, somebody skeeted, blah, blah, blah. And he just kept saying that 3 times. And I remember Jay and I just fell to the floor. We're like, this is unreal. Is this happening?
You gotta give it to everybody that was in that thing. They kept a straight face throughout all that. No chance I would be able to do that. I would give it away on some level.
Professional. Serious
yeah,
professional.
That's a real pro move. That's pro.
Yeah, for sure. That was definitely my favorite moment of last year, and I will never forget that moment in my life. Awesome.
Good.
Yeah, super, super great. Well, I think we're nearing the end. Is there anything else you want to say to folks in our last few minutes?
Well, keep having fun. Keep talking to us and letting us know what's on your mind. We're listening. If the servers go down, we'll get them back up. There's a good chance. And we all really appreciate the heck out of all y'all.
Truly, truly. When we say it's, for the people, by the people, we really mean it. There's like no way Bluesky today could be what it is without all the contributions from the community builders, creators, developers. And so we're very much like we're people too. And so I think this was very much, I needed to say that because people weren't sure about you.
Yeah,
this is information I have to make sure that we're stemming. But yeah,
it's gotten pretty good. So this could be fake. Why did I just ruin it? I just made it worse. Sorry.
Okay. I don't even know what to say, but let's rewind and just say
Let's move on.
we're real people too, and we just want to hear from you guys what you want. We're on the app all the time, and just really grateful for you guys to be here. And let's make friends again. Let's like hang out with us. We're there.
Yeah. And by the way, when you were talking about the contributions, like literally, like if you look at our release notes at the end of every thread, there's a list of GitHub usernames. These are people who have actually like contributed to the app. So people are like even in the code. It's awesome.
Totally. So thank you, everyone, and bear with us as we're a 20-person team and serving more and more millions of users. I think we had 1 million people join today. In the
My
last
notifications are so hosed. It's incredible. That's why those notifications features are getting private. No, not really.
Not because we're experiencing the
that's not why. It's really not why.
No, it's been on the roadmap, but appreciate all of you guys, and we'll probably do another one of these, and we'll see you guys on the app.
Cool. Have a good one, everybody.